Hello and welcome. I'm Karen Kienzle, the director of the Palo Alto Art Center. Thank you all so much for coming to our virtual Friday night at the Art Center event for the Creative Attention exhibition. I would first like to welcome our esteemed guest, City of Palo Alto Mayor Pat Burt, who will provide a welcome and then introduce Vice Mayor Lydia Koo. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks for doing this and everybody for hanging in there on a virtual event. Sorry we couldn't get together in person, but I think we will be back in a few weeks able to do that. I'm just always excited about the opening of these exhibits. Every one of them is so great, and the artists being there to explain things just really enriches the experience. And thanks to everybody for this, and really looking forward to experiencing the exhibit. So on that note, I'd like to introduce Vice Mayor Lydia Koo.
Thank you, Mayor Pat Burt, and also thanks to Karen and everybody who got this wonderful festival going. I want to welcome everyone to the virtual opening celebration of the exhibition Creative Attention, Art and Community Restoration. One of the City of Palo Alto Council priorities for the last year has been focused on economic recovery from COVID-19. As we work to rebuild and recover our city and our community after the pandemic, art can play an important role. Research indicates that 81% of people surveyed did something creative during the pandemic. This exhibition will showcase the power of art in bringing people together, in creating a sense of well-being, and in promoting belonging. Through the Creative Attention exhibition, artists' residencies, public programs, art therapy workshops, and wellness programs, the Palo Alto Art Center hopes to provide opportunities for everyone in the community to experience the numerous ways that art can help. And with that, I give it back to Karen and the committee.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor Koo. Thank you, Mayor Burt. Creative Attention is an initiative at the Art Center focused on individual and community wellness, resilience, and recovery. The project includes an exhibition on view through May 21st that you'll all get to experience tonight, 2 artist residencies, art therapy workshops with provisional art therapists on Tron at community sites, and wellness programs, including free virtual meditation sessions with Julie Forbes on Thursdays at noon. We had our first one yesterday and 49 people joined us. I hope that you'll be able to join us for some of these upcoming programs. I want to thank our funders who helped to make this initiative possible: the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the National Endowment for the Arts, and Pamela and David Hornick. I also want to thank all of our members, donors, and supporters, like all of you, and the Palo Alto Art Center Foundation board members. Many of us are here with us today for your support. I would also like to thank the numerous staff who made this project possible. On our exhibitions team, preparator Joseph Sachs, registrar Anna Soland, our installation crew, Dana, Leanna, Cynthia. I would also like to thank Emer Picardo for all of her support to create accessible digital content for the exhibition, and our Creative Attention Program Coordinator, Stephanie Barajas, for her support. Both of them are with us tonight. I would also like to thank the entire Palo Alto Art Center staff for their incredible and diligent work during the COVID-19 pandemic and into recovery. Thank you. The idea for Creative Attention came out of our deep commitment to the power of art as a tool for healing and individual and community wellness. Our guest curator, Ann Trinca, took that idea and developed a compelling and engaging exhibition that includes artists from a wide range of media from the Bay Area and beyond. I want to thank her for her wonderful work on this show. You'll be able to hear from her in a little bit. I would now like to introduce Creative Attention artist Angela Hennessy, who will be providing an introductory meditation. Angela Hennessy is an Oakland-based artist and associate professor at California College of the Arts, where she teaches courses on visual and cultural narratives of death and contemporary art. Welcome, Angela.
Hi, welcome everyone. going to take a deep breath. Well, just really briefly before we go into a little meditation zone, when Ann first contacted me to invite me to be in the show, I thought, oh, I can't add one more thing to my plate, no matter how wonderful it may be. And then I saw the roster of artists that were included in the exhibit already, who had already confirmed. And I signed on, and I really, the feeling that I had was that I really wanted my work to be in community with their works. So thank you, all of you who were already on board. You definitely inspired me and inspired my participation. So yeah, my name is Angela Hennessy. I am an artist and a writer. I teach classes at CCA, and my work is really informed by looking at how contemporary arts practices overlap with mourning and grief practices, and coming from the place of recognizing how artists, that we often turn to our creative work to process and to understand and to reflect on our experiences with death and grief. I was a hospice volunteer for many years, and one of the things that comes up in hospice work, as it's often said, that questions of love are present in the hearts and minds of the dying. Did they love well? Were they loved well? And so some of these questions are often, at the center of my work. So tonight I thought we would do kind of a love meditation, and love and grief and death, of course, are all wrapped in together. Our grieving is in conversation with our loving. And I want to just give a shout out to a dear friend of mine, Marvin K. White, whose writing and poetry on grief and love has been very inspirational to me. So I can only see the people who are on our panel this evening, but I know there's lots more in attendance. And so I want to just invite you to, close your eyes, cast your gaze downwards, feel the weight of your eyelids as they begin to soften. Go ahead, if you are on camera right now and you want to turn your camera off, right? Turning off the external gaze and turning on your internal gaze, turning on your internal eye. Tuning into your living, breathing, loving body. Find and follow your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Without judgment or analysis or critique, no artist statement needed, no calendar invites, just breathing. Begin by settling into your body as a land unto which you belong, a home in which you live. A home not limited by function, a home recognized for its capacity for love. Sink into this body, home, land. Inhaling fresh air to grow and sustain you, exhaling unwanted, uninvited, occupying energies from this body, home, land. Setting aside whatever happened today, whatever didn't happen, whatever is to come after our time together. Allow yourself to be here right now. And right now. And right now. Each breath is an opportunity to arrive again and again. As waves returning to shore, rivers returning to the ocean. Become aware of the waters housed within your body. Allow yourself to sway or rock, to be flexible and fluid, maybe bending side to side, moving in any, all direction. Follow the waters in your body. Feeling any emotions as they find their way to the surface. Allow any stress of the day, of the week, of the year of the past 2 years, allow it to just float on by. See that stress, that anxiety bobbing effortlessly along. And slowly finding your center, become aware of the earth that is your body. The earth, body, home, energy, the rich, generous fullness of your body. That place from which everything grows. Breathing in and breathing out. Become aware of the heat generated by your body, the spark, the life force of your changing body. There is no destination, only evolution. All the ideas, the brilliance, the thinking, the making, the creating, feel that fire within you. That heat, your fire, is fed by air, this invisible matter that keeps you alive. Your living, breathing body that does so without instruction, without a reminder, without a syllabus. This is the intelligence of who you are. Extend gratitude for how your body lives for you, lives up to you. Breathing in and breathing out. So we gather tonight with broken hearts, with mended, patched together hearts, perhaps separated from those we love. This is a call to love, a return to love, an activation of love in practice. In your mind's eye, in your body's eye, find yourself in a place you love, a place you have been before, in a place that loves you. Floating in front of you is a sphere, a circle, a glowing light, the color of love. What color is love for you? See this light, the color of love, as it begins to expand and grow until you are completely inside this color of love. Allow this color of love, this love to overwhelm you. Allow yourself to surrender. Allow yourself to be in love. Who taught you how to love? Did someone teach you how to love? Was it your first love, a lost love, your last love, a quiet love, a bold take over everything, drive you crazy, insane love, a secret love, a love that made all previous loves irrelevant? Who taught you how to love? And as you find yourself inside this circle of love, look around. Who is in the circle of love with you? Who is there? Who is the first person you see inside the circle of love? See this person in front of you. Let them see you. inside this sphere, this circle, the color of love. Let them see you. Notice any emotions arising. Say hello. Greet this person inside this circle, the color of love. Perhaps you hold hands. Perhaps you hug. Extend some gesture of love. Looking deep into their eyes and allowing them to look deep into your eyes. Continuing to breathe. Breathing in. And breathing out. Say whatever needs to be said, and say it with love. Listen with love. Who else is there with you? Who else do you see inside the sphere, the circle, the color of love? Who is there with you? Do you see your ancestors? Your lineage? Your family? Biological, chosen, gifted? Your friends? Your animal loves? Old loves? Loves lost? Who is there with you? Bring them into this sphere of love with you. Notice how there is always room for more. There's always a place for love. Before this breath, this birth, who were you? Before this body, this battle, this life, this death, that death, who were you? You were love. Take a minute to remember. And continuing to breathe. Allow yourself to be love-stained. as this moment begins to pass like all the others before. Bring this sphere, this circle, this color of love into your heart space, into your body space, knowing it is always right there. Knowing you can call on the circle of love wherever you are. Taking a deep breath in and exhaling out. Taking a deep breath in and exhaling out. Each breath is an opportunity to arrive again. Each breath is an opportunity to love again. As waves returning to the shore and rivers returning to the ocean. Slowly coming back into our Zoom space, our conversation for the evening. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for showing up for artists, for showing up for art tonight.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was a perfect way to start this virtual opening. I'm so appreciative. I want to mention that Angela is not only included in the Creative Attention exhibition, but that she and Creative Attention artist Alexander Hernandez will be included in the upcoming exhibition Queer Threads at the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles, which opens on April 13th. I'm really looking forward to that show. I would now like to introduce Creative Attention artist Pozdela Calzada, who will briefly talk about her work in the show and read an invocation to El Palo Alto. Pozdela Calzada is a San Francisco-based artist working in drawing, installation, and public art. She culls ideas from myths and magical thinking. Her site-specific installations and paintings draw audiences into unexpected and potentially liminal experiences, elevating banal materials into sublime meditative landscapes that encourage contemplation, introspection, and healing. Welcome, Paz.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for everyone who is here tonight. I am really psyched to be part of this show, and I really want to thank Karen and Ann for all their efforts. The work that I am showing at the Palo Alto Art Center is called El Palo Alto Medicine, and it consists of a site-specific drawing and a medicine that I created from an iconic tree that is called El Palo Alto, and it's a redwood tree that grows near the area, maybe like a mile away from the art center. The needles and the bark and the burned bark from the tree have served me as the raw material to create this medicinal herbal potion. It's actually a tincture, and also the dyes from the bark I've used to paint, to draw and to paint the site-specific drawing. And also part of this exhibition, I have an invocation. I've been doing invocations and rituals in my private life, but this is actually the first time that I actually combine an herbal remedy made, with folk medicine, and I incorporate a ritual into this art project. So let's see what happens. This is called the El Palo Alto Invocation, and it's actually a postcard that everybody who comes to the art center can pick up and bring it home and read it at home. So I'm going to read it for all of you. El Palo Alto Invocation. Hail, mighty sempervirens, grandfather of all trees, king of the California forest, lord of the mysteries. We honor your ancient knowledge, your mystic wisdom, your majestic and grand. Be our guide and inspiration to protect our forest and steward this land. For us fighters, plant lovers, and dreamers to become resilient in climate change times. Hail Sequoia, Palo Alto, we need to thank you for your roots teach us about community, powerful connections, and ecology too. Sacred giant redwood tree, from the evils of deforestation, protect us please. Connect us with our dreams of justice, so mote it be. So that's the invocation that I use. Because for me, activism starts with like acknowledging how sacred the land is and looking at ancestral practices and honoring the land. So putting names and putting voice to the trees and to the plants is a way for me to create these stories that transform and affect the way that we live in.
Thank you so much, Paz. I want to mention that Paz is going to be participating in a special program in conjunction with Canopy, focused on the healing power of trees, that will be on Saturday, March 12th. It'll start at 10 a.m. and will include a tree walk. I hope you can join us. I would now like to introduce the guest curator of Creative Attention, Ann Trinca. Ann Trinca is a freelance curator, artist coach, and museum consultant with more than 20 years of art world experience. She's curated shows for the Bedford Gallery, the Berkeley Art Center, DeRosa Center for Contemporary Art, and her online gallery, Perch Art House. She assists museums, galleries, and individual artists with marketing, branding, and social media, and has a personal passion for travel and photography. Ann will be providing a virtual walkthrough of the Creative Attention show using footage prepared by Mid-Peninsula Media Center. If you'd like to experience a more extensive curator walkthrough of the exhibition, we'll share a link to that in the chat that you can watch online. Welcome, Ann.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. This has been a special evening already. We had the members preview with 3 artist explanations, and I just can't tell you how valuable it is to hear from the artists themselves, because I, of course, have communicated with them all, but the chance for the public to get to know them is really special. So I'm going to do a quick virtual walkthrough of the exhibition. It's just going to be a fast one, so forgive me if I stumble or if I forget something. There is a more extended version that will be available on the Palo Alto Art Center website. So we can go ahead and hopefully I can keep up with this. So we're going to start with on the outside of the building. Actually, there is a big mural by Marcel, Pardo, Ariza, building on a poster project from 2020 featuring past and present LGBTQ activists and heroes. This project is about the healing power of visibility and community. And Marcel is going to be giving an artist residency talk with Christine Wong Yap on March 4th. Inside the center reading room, we have examples of Jessi Rado's zines, Everyday Healing and Working with Trauma. Jessi is a counselor, and her zines are full of images and words to help Everyone take a breath, reset, and move towards mindfulness. And we're going to hear from her a little later tonight. In the lobby is also an installation by Christine Wong Yap, who's become known for mapping cities according to feelings of security and inclusivity. She started with Albuquerque in 2017 and has done similar projects throughout the Bay Area. Here we have a map of Palo Alto area and also the world where people can come in and map their own places of belonging. The Lamchim noted here are the original Ohlone tribes who originally habitated the San Francisco Peninsula. Hopefully we'll see this full of cards and threads and everyone's places of belongings very soon. We're going to turn around now to the glass gallery where we have an installation by artist Wes Bruce called Drift, inspired by water and its metaphors. The room is filled with poetry, reflections, objects, and images. It's a place where visitors can relax or be introspective. Often we need places like this to renew and restore our hope and wash away the past. This installation will be up actually through June 2002, so please come and enjoy and immerse yourself. As we look around the room, we see poetry, objects that Wes created, these fabulous flowing lines, and the use of mirrors, which I think is really clever. Here's the title wall with calligraphy created by Christine Wong Yap. Along the wall are artifacts from her previous belonging projects, her instructions for identifying places of belonging. Also, we see the certificates that were allocated to places that the participants deemed as special places of belonging. Also on the wall are belonging bandanas, which were quotes from people who indicated they didn't have a particular place of belonging, but they carried the sense of belonging with them wherever they went. Christine is working with Palo Alto teens, and they will be presenting the results of their residency later in March in the galleries as well. On the other wall are some samples of Marcel Pardo Ariza's Kin Street posters, which were a set of kiosks displayed on Market Street in 2020 for the 50th anniversary of Gay Pride. As we head into the gallery, you can see some of the work, little sneak peek, pause piece in the back there. We're headed into the gallery. This is Caledonia Curry. She's also known as Swoon. And this piece is called Memento Mori. It's a portrait of her mother, who she has kind of a traumatic history with, but who passed away in 2013 from cancer. It's a portrait of her mother, and we'll see other work by Swoon soon. Here's Angela Hennessy's wonderful piece called Arising. It's made of synthetic hair. It, of course, deals with subjects of death and grieving, especially in Black communities. And as we turn around, we see Caledonia Curry's stop motion animation Cicada. It was finished in 2019. It is about our ability to transform and heal ourselves. There is music. It's a wonderful 20-minute experience. I encourage you all to come in and sit through it. As we turn the corner, we see Lisa Solomon's embroidered works on paper, referring to symbols and practices from Japanese Buddhism. This is called the Senju Kanon, which is the 1,000 armed Buddha or Bodhisattva of compassion, which comes to help those people in need and distress. Her use of thread is a tribute to the process, but she also leaves some of it hanging, which I love, is moving around in the air conditioning, provoking ideas of memory and the passage of time. Here's Jeremiah Jenkins and his series called Functional. We got to hear from her earlier in the program. These represent struggling with mental health and the chaotic world of the pandemic. Across from Jeremiah's work is Esther Trago. She lives in Sebastopol, and she works with pieces of nature such as butterfly wings, branches, and broken shells. She's also inspired by the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold to make the pieces more valuable despite their damage. In the same way, she uses gold thread and this very fine crochet to heal or put back what has been abandoned or broken. These rock pairs are interpretations of relationships, and she highlights the spaces where they interact. I also see these as a comment on social distancing during the pandemic. Around the corner, we're going to see work by Alexander Hernandez in a second. A little more detail on Esther's work. Alex is making works that express his childhood memories watching telenovelas and anime as he discovered his queer identity. The quilt is titled Always Thinking About Yesterday. It's part of a current series that Alexander's working on about Mexican song lyrics, recalled from songs his mother would listen to around the house. And on the floor is a piece called Beauty in the Binge. It was made during quarantine and was a catalyst for a body of work titled Slumber Party that reflects the feeling of being constrained, yet comfy and nostalgic. As we turn around, we see work from Leah Rosenberg. It's a series of silent films that was also a response to the confines of lockdown. It's called At a Loss for Words. While sheltering in place, Leah was seeking a way to delight people with what she had on hand. And she made videos that set the rhythm for everyday acts like making coffee, practicing guitar, sorting books, or setting the table. For me, this demonstrates how maintaining an artistic practice and a sense of humor can help us endure anything. Next door, we see the works of Pozdela Calzada. She's created a site-specific mural about El Palo Alto, the redwood for which the city is named. Paz likes to research native and traditional medicines. Part of her practice includes artistic rituals and labyrinths. For this mural, Paz worked with community gardeners and extracted oils from the iconic Palo Alto redwood. The paint is infused with the oils and the black lines are made with charcoal from burnt redwood trees. Stay tuned. Oh, we already heard Paz read the invocation for El Palo Alto. Here's a full-length shot of the mural. And next door, we have Tucker Nichols' Flowers for Sick People, which was one of the first artistic responses to the COVID that I noticed in the Bay Area. It was a way of comforting those falling ill or loved ones who had to be separated during the pandemic. Tucker started a website where people could request flower paintings be sent to someone who is suffering. We learned earlier that he became slightly overwhelmed with these requests. He started posting flower paintings to social media, honoring the everyday heroes or occurrences in life. Recently, Tucker released a book, Flowers in the Dark, Notes from the Infusion Center, which documents his experience with chronic illness and treatment. This piece at the top says, Flowers for all the single people. There's also an opportunity in the reading room to make a comment of who you would like to send flowers to. Okay, we're going to pass through the work of Maria Paz, and we'll talk more about her later. These two works, one on the left is called The Underworld, has lots of symbols and ideas about protection and angels. It says, Así es la vida. This is work by Kenyatta Hinkle called Water Cycles. Kenyatta works as a healer as well as an artist and activist. Her most recent works focus on climate change and the significance of Black people's historical and current relationships with water. These three figures demonstrate that water can be a symbol of freedom and cleansing, but also can represent generational trauma. Turning around, we see Maria Paz's piece, Buscando tus olas. She is an artist born in Chile, and her work explores the bond broken with her home country and how this duality of identity has shaped her experience in the United States. She's a self-taught artist and is drawn to ceramics due to the tradition of storytelling and its permanence of materials. Her somewhat irregular forms are vessels for the emotional and spiritual connections to her past. This piece is called In Ti, In Me. Then moving on in the gallery, we're going to see three works by Lynn Beldner, who is a multimedia artist who creates diaristic work using drawing, sculpture, and textiles. This first piece is called Obstacles of Every Sort, where she juxtaposes these delicate objects made of felt with the dangers of the external world. She says, my art expresses sympathy for oppressed people, especially women who have been exploited or caught up in conflicts. On the wall are the emergency blankets, which are about new beginnings, feeling safe, and looking forward. Beldner actually completed the first one after the tragedy of 9/11. These are like the security blankets that we carried when we were young and still need emotionally today. Lynn's third work is called The Noise They Make, and we'll see that in a moment. This work consists of small vaccination bottles containing tiny works on paper. For Lynn, they act as amulets, reassuring sculptures that can be carried around in your pocket. Despite being made of glass, they are sturdy and strong. The drawings convey a story with a language that Lynn has used repeatedly in her art practice. Here's another look at the gallery from the other side. And we're going to see the work of Karita Kent, who was actually a Catholic nun for most of her life. She led the art department at the Immaculate Heart College in Los Angeles. She was influenced by Andy Warhol and pop art, and she became a celebrated graphic designer as well as a political activist. The texts she quotes come from a variety of sources, ranging from Anais Nin to Gandhi, urging people to find their best selves. These works are actually from 1972, so we're marking 50 years of her legacy of art and healing. I want to thank the Karita Art Center in Los Angeles for loaning us these works. And finally, we have a work by Jonah Arnold, and this is called the Expanding Space Project. Jonah is really interested in the interconnection of all things. She is a photographer, but also an educator and an urban farmer. She spent time as a puppeteer with the Bread and Puppet Theater, which may be the influence behind this theatrical structure. Jonna started meditating a few years ago and noticed how it altered her mood and helped her connect with other people. She created a guided meditation that asked people to leave their bodies and the constraints of time and space. You fly out over Palo Alto, over the Golden Gate Bridge, and out to the ocean. Afterward, Jonna asked people to describe the experience and capture a photo of themselves after their adventure. This is a 20-minute experience, but I really encourage everyone to go through it. It's really beneficial and fun. These are some of the pictures that people have already contributed to the project. Hopefully, after moving through this exhibition, people do feel connected and like they belong and they're protected, so that we can all go back out into the world with renewed hope. I really want to thank everyone at the Arts Center, and I thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Anne. I want to remind everyone that the exhibition is open to the public and you can come and see it. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you so much, Anne, for that really wonderful walkthrough and introduction to the show on Zoom. We have a few of the artists who've offered to make some comments about their work in the show, and I'm going to call them out by name. The first is Christine Wong Yap. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, sorry, my camera is being weird. It was working just earlier, but now it's off. But it's okay because I think you're going to put on a slideshow anyway. So I think so thank you so much. I just wanted to say thanks to Palo Alto Art Center, and also a special shout out to Karen, because I see you were there when I was installing in the Nook on like the week of Christmas. You were there on like Saturday when I was dropping off work and all of this. So thank you so much for all your support and being there. And also thanks to Anne, and this lineup of artists is so incredible. I'm so honored to be a part of it. So yeah, my work is about belonging. I'm not sure where we're gonna start. Okay, yeah, so I did do the title wall. A lot of my work has to do with like lettering and graphic design. And I worked with Karen and Anne in developing this. It's inspired by the colors of the sunset when you cross the Bay Bridge. I had lived in New York City for 10 years. And one of the nicest things about moving back to the Bay Area is just being able to appreciate like the beautiful sunsets here. And I think that moment of like pause and reflection at the end of each day is kind of a nice thing to bring into this exhibition about well-being. Next image. Right, I think Anne gave a great overview of the works in this part of the gallery. Many of these were created when I was an artist in residence at what was then called the Haas Institute for a Fair and Inclusive Society, and it's now called the Othering and Belonging Institute. It's a think tank that's part of UC Berkeley that's just focused on othering and belonging. And for me, like I've always been interested in belonging. It started out kind of as a way to think about how to resist what happens when other people tell you that you don't belong. And then the question that I kind of ask is not just like, what is a place where you feel a sense of belonging, but what might be a space where you have felt a sense of belonging? And that's a little bit of like it might sound like a small difference, but it actually is quite a big difference. Like maybe you feel a sense of belonging at a certain park and on certain days when your soccer club meets there. And I like to think about it in terms of like kind of similar to like the Zapatistas temporary autonomous zones, only maybe like a temporal autonomous zone, where if you can feel a sense of belonging at a certain place, maybe eventually you can expand that to more places or certain times in certain places to the whole week. And then in addition to feeling belonging at a sense of a place, also like what does it mean to carry a sense of belonging with you? So that's what the bandanas commemorate, as opposed to where the certificates commemorate a place of belonging. The bandanas are meant to commemorate something that you carry with you. And that's inspired by the research of Brene Brown. And I think as I dive into this work, because I did this project in 2019 and I've continued to do more belonging projects, I think that idea of carrying that sense of belonging with you and the ways that it manifests through your own self-work is really interesting and really powerful. And I really love how Angela Hennessy started off the meditation with talking about your body is like a home that belongs to you, that you always belong in. So thank you for bringing more dimension to this idea of belonging that you carry with you. Next slide. So this is the interactive activity in the Nook, and anybody is welcome to add their place of belonging. And again, it doesn't have to be a place where you feel a sense of belonging every time you go there, but maybe you felt a sense of belonging in the past or only at certain times. And we wanted to include the world just because I know so many people in the Bay Area have lineage from all different countries. And, you know, I think just wanting to honor like that we are, many of us have many places within us. And I just wanted to mention right now there's map cards that are available in English for people to write their places of belonging and a little bit about it. We also have translations, and the new cards are coming on, they're on the way. They're in Spanish and Chinese traditional and Chinese simplified, and those will be added real soon. So yeah, when you add a card, you just say a little bit about it, and we're kind of collectively creating this snapshot, a community snapshot of belonging in the area. I think that might be my time. I don't want to go over.
That's perfect, Christine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, my camera was weird.
It's okay.
Okay, great.
Next, we've got Wes Bruce. Wes was living with us at the Art Center for a good week plus, creating his immersive installation, and we're excited to have him here tonight. Welcome, Wes.
Thank you very much, Karen. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everything, and thank you to everybody else that had their hands in this show. So many people, great and small, with so many different efforts that went into this, and all the artists coming together with all these different creative threads. It's such an honor to be able to participate in such a powerful and worthwhile and heart forward show with this. So thank you to everybody, and thank you for everyone who's joining us tonight. It's so special for us to all be in all our places of belonging, wherever you happen to be right now to join in. So thanks. There's so many places that that flowed into my work. So I guess I'll just start at the beginning because that makes sense. But so this is sort of the front wall, and you're looking into it. And I've been really curious with the language of the human heart, the language of the human spirit, and how that overlaps with the emotional intelligence and spiritual metaphor of water. And this word drift kind of has been ringing in my ears for a few years now, actually. So it's fun to have a place to kind of drop it or to be able to stick it onto the wall like a sticker. But this word drift, sort of by most connotations, is kind of verby, right? It's very drifty, where you might feel set adrift from like that emotional standpoint. Again, all this language is going to be very much how the human experience and the experience of water overlap. So you might feel set adrift in your life, where you might feel like you're drifting freely towards the shore or down the river. And it can also be sort of this noun sensation. So you have like a noun of a snowdrift or a glacial drift or a flood drift. So it's a collection of things, right? And so I was asking sort of these questions. Well, what happens if you were to drift down into your essential center, down into your heart space? And that's the verb. But what about the noun of what are the collections that might be in there? Can you have like a drift of poetry, or a drift of these different selves that you've been, or a drift of experiences, or a drift of feelings? And I wanted to create a space that would allow people to sort of dive into that metaphorical space, this essential center of yourself. And you'll see all these repetitions of circles, all these flowing lines. And I've been playing around with something that I find to be deeply significant and powerful for my own lived experience. And these are words of other people coming from many different cultures, kind of paraphrase. But imagine, and this goes for everyone sitting out there, like wherever you are, just kind of sit up in your chair and imagine that there is this place within you that is whole, that is unbroken, that can't be diminished by any word or action or experience or pandemic. Like no lived experience or word, literal, metaphorical, can diminish your human soul, this space of essential center. And to create a space where you can reflect on that and to put it through the filter of water. So there's all these different plays with shadow, with light, with movement, with reflections on the natural world. And there's a space directly in the middle of the room where you essentially end up on like this little mat in the floor, and you are pointed towards the center of the front wall. And I had this funny moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I've aimed this entire room. Yeah, thank you for moving that back. Emer or Stephanie or whoever's on the tech right now, thank you very much. So you end up on that little mat and you're facing directly into that mirror. And in that moment when you're standing there, you become the essential center of not only the room, but your own essential self, and you're reflected back. And I wanted to have this moment of reflection. And there are two poems that sort of pair together, one on the mirror, as you can see, and then one on the floor. And they're just, as Paz so wonderfully introed this whole session, it's an invocation and an invitation to go into yourself, to dive into that essential center, to go into that river and to see what's there, to drift both aimlessly as well as directively, and to find that water, again, to use another sort of soulful metaphor, to go into that aquifer of yourself, to find this channel of a well, and to come back to your daily life, to your lived world experience, and to know how to draw that water up. And the goal is that all of us are living, drinking, and living from that water that comes up from that place of wholeness. And that's, another way of saying that is to live from our intuitions. And even more than that, to recognize the intuitions and the essential centers of other human beings. And more than that, the essential centers and ways of beings of other creatures and bodies of water and every other sentient thing that we're sharing the planet with. To recognize your own centeredness is to recognize the centeredness of everything else in the world and see the threadedness of all of us together in that. And it's a place where you can lay on the floor. Nothing would bring me more joy than to walk in to see like a group of people laying on the floor, chilling. There's all those pillows that are in the back. There's a bench. Just toss those things around, lean against the wall. You can touch the things that are in there. It's a space that is whatever you need it to be. And its intention is that it is offering a full welcome to whoever you are on whatever day you show up, introverted, extroverted, all of the spectrums that we all live across on our many different ways of being spectrum across our lives. Just to be a holding space, a safe space, a welcoming area for you to find whatever you need to find. So using that emotional filter of water, of the emotional intelligence of both us and those watery places, and the spiritual metaphor. It's poetry, it's movement, it's flow, and to hopefully just give you a sense of fullness. If I could just have one intention fulfilled, is that people would walk out with a greater sense of their full selves when they leave. So that's the quick gist of it, but it's an open invitation. Yeah. And again, thank you for everyone that put so much effort and love and creative attention into every little nook and cranny of the whole place, and everybody that continues to make this a lifeblood for the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wes. Next, we've got Alex Hernandez.
Can you hear me? Oh, hello. My name is Alex Hernandez, and a lot of my work, I use patchwork as a way to talk about intersectional identities. I like to use like Americana fabrics, Mexican fabrics, children's bed sheets, nostalgic things, to kind of talk about like the immigrant experience and how I kind of sew all these different identities together to create like these Frankensteinian sculptures or quilts that kind of talk about the immigrant experience and never feeling like you belong anywhere, but also kind of having to create your own world to kind of fit into. And so for this art show, I mean, for this exhibition, I kind of created, I started 2 different series, and I kind of show one of each. So I first, at the beginning of the pandemic, I started the art piece on the right, which is the Beauty and the Binge. And it kind of reflects kind of how we were all dealing with the pandemic at the beginning. We were all watching shows. We were all like binging and watching TV and things that were kind of comforting. And so I wanted to reflect that in a sculpture. And it also kind of brought me back to like my childhood where, you know, we didn't have a babysitter. So we were just left to watch TV all day during summer vacation while my friends were going, you know, to Disneyland. And there was something comforting about, you know, just staying home and watching anime and watching cartoons and watching novelas and watching all these different things that kind of informed my identity. And so it was kind of funny that we were kind of doing it again, and there was something comforting about that. And this is like the best way that we could kind of, you know, deal with what was happening at the moment. And so I started this in like, you know, a couple of months after the pandemic started in 2020. And then it kind of led into a new series that I started to do called what did I call it? Slumber Party, which is actually in New York right now. But I talked about how it slowly kind of started to feel constraining, and like I use sleeping bags, and I was talking about how this comfort was kind of starting to suffocate us. And then now I started this new series that I don't even know what to call yet, about Spanish song lyrics. And this is this quilt that you see here right now is something that I just did a few months. And this is more towards like what's happening now, you know, being in the pandemic, like, you know, almost 2 years into it. Like it's kind of after going through a breakup and going through a lot of different changes, like I started to like listen to Mexican music that my mom would listen to when she cleaned the house, and it used to kind of irritate me when I was younger, and also as being like a first generation immigrant, the Spanish that we learn is very conversational. It's not, we don't learn it from school. So a lot of it is things that our parents teach us. And so there's all these things that kind of go over our head, like music and movies that we don't understand as kids. And then later on, I think now, especially now, like in, there's a lot, and like in TikTok and like Instagram, a lot of Mexican Americans are talking about nostalgia and like all these things that we didn't notice until later, you know, like, and so I started to break down some of these lyrics and the music that my mom would listen to, because then like now that I know more Spanish that I learned on my own, I find all these nuances that I didn't understand when I was younger. And so I would pick a phrase in a song like Siempre pienso en el ayer, which totally, and the title of the piece is Always Thinking About Yesterday, because that's the best translation that I can come up with. But the Spanish is actually like, it's so poetic, like, because you're actually saying like, I'm always thinking about the yesterday, like the yesteryear. Like there's something totally different that I think only like first generation Mexicans would understand. And it's also about like relearning my language and having to like kind of, you know, owning it and seeing it in a different way. And I did it on this quilt that I kind of tore apart, that I created to kind of talk about the heartbreak that I was going through at the moment. And so I think it's like a piece that a lot of, and also the phrase is kind of, it can be about anything. It doesn't just have to be about a heartbreak. It could be about like missing somebody, or like missing a loved one, or like grief. And so and so that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing right now, is doing all these new quilts on using lyrics that kind of like give you a different notion of nostalgia. So, and thank you again, Anne, for letting me be part of this show. And then I think that's it.
Thanks so much, Alex. Next, we've got Lynn Beldner.
Hi there. I'm very grateful to Anne and Karen and everybody at the Palo Alto Art Center for including my work in creative attention. And thank you to all the other artists. I was so looking forward to meeting you and seeing your work. Now our work is silently installed together and having a conversation without us. This is why art is so wonderful. I'm looking forward to when we can gather in person. The first slide is an overview of my 3 pieces. Next. The first piece is Obstacles of Every Sort are a kind of self-made knick-knack. They appear to be fragile and may easily fall over. The sewing is a meditation and an act of repair. Next. The noise they make consists of many small vaccination bottles. I see them as an amulet and a piece of sculpture that you can hold. Because they are glass, they appear fragile, but they are not. They are very sturdy and strong. As with other very small pieces of my artwork, I have carried them in my pocket as I have gone about my day. They are reassuring. The drawings, excuse me, convey a story with a language that I have used repeatedly in my art practice. Next. This is emergency blankets. I completed these emergency blankets right after 9/11, and they still feel as necessary emotionally and conceptually as they did before. The past 2 years has made finding meaning in the art making process even more challenging than usual. The pandemic has left me feeling aimless, scared, and uncertain as what to do next. Everything seems so insignificant and meaningless, yet I knew I needed to do something. So like many times in the past when I haven't been able to work, I gave myself an assignment to make something, just pick things up and begin. By beginning, I could act out a larger metaphor. Thank you for listening. Everyone be well. Thanks again to everybody who got this exhibition together. So appreciated.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And next we've got Jonah Arnold.
Hey, all right. Well, thanks for having me. Just like everyone else has said, this is a really wonderful and amazing exhibition, and I'm super delighted to be a part of it. Part of my enthusiasm for this project is not only the other artists that I'm with, but also the fact that this is the first time I've gotten to work sort of publicly and officially in a social practice construct. So I'm more trained as a photographer. And as Anne mentioned, I did work at Bread and Puppet. I traveled to Bread and Puppet and spent a summer there as well as a fall and a winter. And I had a great time doing that. I also worked on an educational farm. And so this project really is a coming together for me of these sort of separate interests that have been divergent until now. So here's the hut that I actually built a few years ago with help from two people, Sean Olson and Ray Myers, my stepfather. And what's going on here at this point is it's a meditation hut. So I created a 18 to 20 minute long meditation. It's a guided meditation in which you experience first a full body scan. You sort of thank your body, thank your joints, and then you imagine leaving your body, hovering above your body. And then, as Anne mentioned, you sort of go out over the bay, over the Dumbarton Bridge, and reach the Pacific Ocean. And then it really becomes an imaginative exercise. And my enthusiasm for this is to point out the amazing power of our imaginations, the amazing power of being in your own body, the amazing energy we all have inside of ourselves. And also that filter, the way we see the world, is incredibly important to how we move forward, even as a society. And so I've really gotten interested in this as sort of like a bedrock exercise for like all the projects in the show, for helping us like work together to reassess how we can work together and reevaluate our relationship with the land. But it's not explicitly about that. It's more the underlying information. Next image, if there is, I don't. So in order to make this project, until now, this project has been a participatory project where I've been the photographer. And for this to be up for 5 months, I created what I was jokingly called a mini me. So this is a photo booth that I really am excited because the person who goes on the experience gets to take a photo of themselves. I actually really like this idea that the person has the power to choose when the photo is taken, and also they get to choose whether or not they like that photo, and they can retake it. And then once they do like the image, it gets printed out for them to take home. And what I forgot to say, to rewind for 1 second, is that people will write down, oh, you don't have to rewind the images, just on the photo booth, people will write down a statement about what they experienced on their imaginative journey. And then that they hold up in the image with them. And then at this point, they'll also take the image with their eyes shut so that they can actually fully, hopefully reimagine being in that space while the photo is taken. There's a little image. It's getting slowly filled up. There's a few more images now than there were a couple days ago. So please come and experience and participate. I guess I'll finish off saying that something that not many people know is I actually grew up in Palo Alto, and not only that, but I grew up with one parent living on one end of Newell and the other parent living on the other end of Newell. So this is like the midpoint of my whole, of like many of my years of life. So I'm excited to be in this project for so many reasons. It feels very symbolic and strong and great. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. I want to thank all of the artists in the Creative Attention exhibition. This has been just a sampling, but it's a truly extraordinary group of artists, and I want to thank all of them for sharing their vision with our community. I am now excited to introduce Jessi Rado. Jessi is a growth counselor, a yoga teacher, and an integrative artist. She's funneled her teaching into many places, including HIV mental health clinics, yoga, and meditation classes. In 2015, she paired up with Caledonia Curry, Swoon, and Mural Arts Philadelphia to help those struggling from substance abuse. As part of these workshops, Jessi wrote and illustrated her first zine, Everyday Healing Part 1, full of images and words to help everyone take a breath, rest, and move towards mindfulness. She's now going to do a reading of Everyday Healing. There are images from Everyday Healing in the creative space and also copies for people to take home. Welcome, Jessi.
Thank you. Hi. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. I'm just so glad to be here. I'm super honored to be included among these artists. This is just a really cool show. I'm feeling really moved hearing everyone talk about their work and share. So is it work best if I sort of hold it up like this? Okay, so I have 2 zines I've made over the last, I'm not sure how many years. This is the first one. It's called Everyday Healing, How to Work with Your Own Pain. It was really just supposed to be like an open source way for people to understand what's happening inside. And then during the pandemic, worked on one on trauma. So I love to read from the first one a little bit to start. So Everyday Healing, How to Work with Your Own Pain. When we're born, nobody really tells us how to live. We are shown how to live by the people and environments around us. For most of us, that means mimicking the way other people live. Growing up, nobody really explains this part of, I'm reading backwards. It's good for my brain. Growing up, nobody really explains this part of life to us. Our minds and all the things our minds create can often be a complete and total mystery. Things like our hopes, dreams, prayers, wishes, thoughts, feelings, fantasies, and fears become secret worlds inside of us that only we know about. Sometimes, without anybody else even knowing it, we find ourselves in pain. You have experienced pain to whatever degree, either from one hurtful event or lots of times in your life when you did not feel safe. Your body is most likely carrying a memory of it somewhere. This might lead you to believe there is something wrong with you. You may be struggling in some way or deeply afraid of something. You may not feel good about yourself or proud of who you are. You may think you are broken, but you are most certainly not broken. You are in no way bad. You are somebody who matters. You are still becoming all that you are. Did you know you have tools inside you right now that can help you on your journey toward healing? Some of the most basic tools you have are your breath, your attention, and present moment awareness. And so this zine kind of goes on to, I'm not sure with time if I should go through the whole thing, but okay. So it kind of goes on through just basic mindfulness. Do I have time to read a little bit from the trauma one? Okay, cool. So this is the more recent one, Everyday Healing, Working with Trauma. Life can feel like a pretty wild ride sometimes. There's really no telling what sorts of things you'll experience. But there's one experience that affects us all in a very unique, peculiar way. It's actually pretty mysterious when you stop and think about it. It's called trauma. Trauma exists. Not only does it exist, but it happens to a lot of people. If it's happened to you, then you probably know it feels downright terrible. Trauma can happen to anyone because everyone has a body, and trauma is something that happens inside the body. So what is it? Lots of people have said lots of stuff about trauma. But a very simple way of saying it is that trauma is a message from your body telling you you're not safe. I'm not sure in terms of time what.
You want to do a little bit more and then we'll, yeah.
Great. Might skip ahead a little bit. I'll keep going from there. You probably weren't safe at some point. Maybe you were in danger or your body was under threat. Maybe something really scary happened and you didn't know if you'd be okay. Maybe you weren't given the kind of care you needed to grow. Or maybe the world is less safe for a person who looks like you. When you're not safe, the inner alarm system in your brain goes off until you're safe again. Sometimes, though, the alarm keeps going off, even though you're not in danger anymore. This is trauma. Not a thing happening to you, but a response happening in you. It's like that alarm is going off all the time when there might not be an emergency. And I'm just going to skip forward and maybe share like just a couple of pages where it fast forwards a little bit and, you know, really simplifying something that's complex, but here we go. Talking about the details of your story will help eventually, but healing trauma actually starts by getting in touch with your body again. Yes, your body. The very body that got all mixed up is the same one that can remember or learn for the first time. How it feels to be whole. I'm gonna pause there. But you can find the zines online. They're open source to be downloaded and shared. So
thank you so much, Jessi. It's great to have you part of Creative Attention. Thank you, everyone. To close out our event, we're going to do some art together. If we were all together at the Art Center, one of the things that we traditionally do at our opening receptions is we have hands-on art making. And I want to introduce our two amazing staff members, Jennifer Naranjo Villegas, our education coordinator, and Stephanie Barajas, our creative attention program coordinator, who are going to provide a hands-on art activity with materials that you should already have at home, inspired by the Creative Attention exhibition. So I'm going to turn it over to them for a quick hands-on art activity related to the show.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. So thank you again for joining us today. My name is Stephanie Barajas, and I am the Creative Attention Program Coordinator here at the Palo Alto Art Center. I am so happy to be sharing space with all of you amazing artists and everyone joining us on the other side of the screen. My colleague Jennifer Villegas Naranjo and I work together to bring you this art activity that we are calling Note to Self, a thank you card to yourself. So for this activity, you're only gonna need a blank piece of paper. We can go to the next slide. So yes, you will need a blank piece of paper, a pen, a marker, or a pencil, and then coloring materials like paint, markers, pencils, stickers, whatever you have on hand, and a picture of yourself, which can be a selfie on your phone, a printed photo, or even a mirror. And so Note to Self is an activity meant to be fun and cathartic. Don't worry about being perfect or anything like that. We're going to be creating basically a greeting card or a postcard to help us reflect about the things that we are grateful for having in our lives. Like I mentioned, this is supposed to be fun, so don't worry about being perfect. On the cover, we're gonna work on a single line self-portrait, and then in the inside or on the back of the card, we're gonna basically give ourselves an encouraging or uplifting message. So think of it as a thank you card to yourself. So now Jennifer will guide us through a quick demo to show you how to do a single line drawing.
Hi everyone, let me just flip the camera over so you can see what I'm doing. So once everybody has their paper and marker, you'll have your picture up. So I have my picture right here, and I'll just show you guys the examples that I made. So here's what it'll kind of look like. It's a single line drawing of your face. So it's okay if you lift up your pen, just as long as you kind of put it back wherever you picked it up. But yeah, that's an example. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna look at your picture and kind of, I like to look at it for a little bit and just see, kind of premeditate where the lines are gonna connect. But I'll show you kind of how to get it started. So I like to start with the inner corner of my right eye, just because it's easier for me to flow this like to the right and then to the left. So you'll start with your eye, and then kind of move to your bottom waterline. And I like to circle it back up to like my pupil and my iris. And I like to do multiple lines inside so that it looks like, you know, like the highlight and the color and all that. Then I like to do the, your like lid crease, and then circle back up, and then go to the bottom line of your eyebrow, and then go to your top line of your brow line. And then, see, I picked up my pen, but that's okay. And then I use the eyebrows as a connecting point to my nose, to my next eyebrow. So I come down to my nose, and then back up to my next eyebrow, and kind of do the same thing that I did on the other eye, but like reversed order. So come back down, up over to my next eye, and then do the pupil, and then the iris and the color and my crease. And it's okay if you like go over like a line more than once. That'll actually add more like depth and detail, because there'll be different thickness of lines. And just a reminder to be kind to yourself. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating if you like get a line and you're like, oh, that's not the line that I wanted. But it's okay to just kind of like take a pause and then come back and go over lines again, just to add more detail. So yeah, and once you do the nose, I'm going to come back to the nose. I like to do like a little circle kind of around the tip of my nose to like kind of show more depth. And then from my nose, I do a little line kind of down, and then draw my cupid's bow of my lip, and then and then move down, like finish the top lip, kind of go over it multiple times, and then do my bottom lip. And then do a little, I like to do kind of a little squiggle for my chin, because my chin also has a little divot, so it kind of adds more dimension. And then I just kind of start going to the right side of my jawline. And then I draw my ear, because you can kind of see it in this picture that I have. And I like to do like a couple of little curves in my ear to make it look like how my ear looks. And then a hoop, because I have some jewelry. And then I just kind of come back up, circle around to my forehead, and then the next side of my face. And then I'll kind of go back a little bit and do my neck. And I think I'm actually going to do my necklace too, because I have one, and it's just little circles. And then when I come back up here, I'm going to come to the top of my head, and then I'll just start doing my hair and those details. And I feel like the hair is kind of where you can have a little bit more fun, because you can just kind of do some crazy fun lines, and it doesn't have to look exactly like the picture. You can just kind of really loosen up with this one. And then once you feel like you're at a good stopping point, that's when you'll just like lift up your pen. And I like to encourage folks to add little details, like to fill in any empty space that you might have. I like to fill it up with, I did some like flowers on this one, and then on this one I did some butterflies. So just kind of things that make you feel happy or make you feel uplifted. They can be really symbolic, or they can just be fun doodles that you like to do, like stars or smiley faces, just whatever you can kind of think of that's fun to draw for you. But yeah, and then you can come back to it, add some color, and do all of those fun stuff. Inside of my card, I'll use this one for the example. My letter or my note of affirmation to myself is going to be, you did great at FNAC tonight. Because this was my first ever virtual meeting like this where I do a demo, and so I'm really proud of myself, and I want to, this would be a great reminder for me that I can always do new things and try new stuff. So yeah, that's kind of it for today for the little demo. I'll pass it back to Karen.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I think mine is really not as inspiring as what you did, but this is, again, a really helpful reminder to be kind to myself. Thank you for that reminder. I want to thank everyone who helped make this opening a really wonderful celebration of creative attention. We were scrambling a little bit when we realized that we needed to make this a virtual event. And so I'm so appreciative of all of the staff members and the artists who made this possible. I want to thank Ann Trinca. Thank you all. We're going to put the slideshow back up. Just want to mention, if you want to try the art activity again, Karen has put some instructions in the chat. We're going to bring the slideshow back up to remind all of you about a couple of upcoming programs. So here we have the virtual meditation sessions. So those are happening every Thursday at noon. They are free. They're completely safe and virtual. Julie Forbes is working with us to provide these sessions. We had our first one yesterday with 49 people. It was amazing. Julie will continue these sessions through June. So I hope you'll join us for those. Also coming up, we have a Zoom conversation with Marcel, Pardo, Ariza, and Christine Wong Yap about their residencies in conjunction with creative attention. So we hope that you'll join us for that. Links to register for these events are on the City of Palo Alto website, also the Art Center website. And then we've got the Canopy Arbor Tree Walk with Pozdela Calzada. So this will be a really wonderful opportunity to celebrate Arbor Week and connect it to Paz's wonderful installation focused on El Palo Alto. So Karen has the links in the chat. I want to thank you all once again for joining us. I want to thank all of the numerous staff members, the artists, Ann Trinca, everyone who made this exhibition and this very wonderful celebration happen. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. And please come and see the exhibition. It is on view through May 21st. Thank you again.